be better prepared. So when you start looking at certain cuts that are being done in the budget, my answers start beginning to ask why.
Yeah. The other thing we have talked about is a possibility of cuts in transportation. Have you heard anything about that?
I've not heard anything specifically about that yet.
All right, so we're good when it comes to school budget.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in the budget.
All right.
That doesn't mean that it won't happen.
And to be fair, transportation has been an issue in rural schools, especially as it's not risen with the rate of inflation, certainly. And in these rural schools, transportation is a lot of the budget.
Right. So I do want to talk a little bit about the school turnaround office. You both voted in favor of the act. I guess it's the First Priority Act that created it a few years ago. 2017, we saw everything ramp up. This was something big for Governor Nathan Deal, really wanted it. But last week, we found out that the State Board of Education accepted the resignation of the turnaround officer. So right now, there's a little feeling that that office, we don't know what the future holds. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a personnel issue, of course, Donna. So I don't know much about the actual ins and outs. I think we're still committed to making sure these special needs, these low performance schools need to be helped. We need to help all those schools, including the ones in the CTO program.
Yeah, let's talk about it. There are 105 of these schools in the state. About 30 of them are in the metro Atlanta area. And we understand up to this point that the chief turnaround officer was focusing even on those rural schools more than anything else. So will we continue to see that happen, or are we going to lose that?
Well, I would hope that we do. My concern with cutting that particular position out, I was privy to be on the selection committee for Dr. Thomas when he was selected. And it was my hope which the things he had been doing, directly focusing on those schools, and he purposely focused on the rural Georgia because a lot of times they don't get as much service as they should. And my concern with cutting that particular position or that department is what's going to happen when we need to really focus in on those particular schools. They were used to getting that one-on-one service that they needed. These are things that we heard in the education committee when some of those superintendents came to the education committee to talk about it. Because I specifically asked them, how was it going with the CTO and the intervention? And same thing with school improvement. So now with merging those two departments into one, I'm really concerned that those schools are not going to get the help that they need, and then we're going to be back to square one, where we've been fighting for years to make sure those schools perform well and get the support. And a lot of times they were getting support in the areas with their budget, where they might have been spending a little bit too much and didn't even realize that they were double spending in services that they were providing to the students.
And I like to say that Representative Stovall has been a real hero on this issue. She has grassroots. She's really engaged in the community. She knows what she's talking about this issue.
Yeah, we've seen extreme budget cuts, though. Originally $3 million for this back when it was first started. We're down to a tenth of that with $350,000.
Sure.
So, okay, I guess we'll wait to see what happens with that. Before you go, though, we have to talk a little bit about something that you both are a part of. You're sponsored the legislation, and you're co-sponsoring legislation for loan forgiveness for teachers who actually go into those turnaround schools. Talk a little bit about the importance of that.
Well, Representative Stovall and I worked on this together, and there's one thing we heard from teachers, that they would like some, everyone knows that college debt is a problem for a lot of their kids who graduate, so we're going to put some incentives for these teachers to go into these low-performing schools and also the rural schools.
And you'll forgive the loans for their tuition.
That's right.
Talk about that a little bit more.
I think it's very important, and the reason we've gotten a lot of questions about why the turnaround schools, why specifically target them instead of all the teachers. Well, the turnaround schools are the ones that have the most challenge when it comes to filling those positions, especially those high-demand careers that we need, like English, math, social studies, science, in those particular areas. So whatever incentive we're able to give to the teachers that would help relieve them of having to pay that student loan debt back, I think we owe it to them, and that's one less burden they have off of their shoulders to be able to really focus on making sure our children don't end up having to get student loans when they graduate from high school.
And I guess the big thing is attracting people into those positions, yes, because they know they will get that loan forgiveness, right?
Right.
That's right. The countries that do really, really well in education don't put a lot of money into quality tests. They put a lot of money into quality teachers, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. So so far, you're talking about how much money on this. Do you have any idea?
I'm going to ask for about $5 million off the bat. We'll see where we go.
How do you feel? How are you feeling going
I'm
into
agreeing
this?
with it, yes,
All right.
it's really needed. I think that is even when we talk about the budget cuts with the school improvement department and the CTO department being eliminated, we have to still focus on those schools, and that's always been about, I think at one time it was 63,000 kids that were in those lower performing schools, and if we don't start making measures of ways that we want to move those children out of those positions, and we start, we're going to cut here, we're going to cut here, you can't cut everywhere and expect for perfection or expect for improvement in our education system.
Well, I appreciate this, having you both here. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the $2,000 installment, down payment installment on that $5,000. That was the down payment of $3,000 last year. Thank you for being here. I hope you come back.
Oh, we will.
All righty. Thank you for being here, joining us on Lawmakers today. Tomorrow, more from my extended interview with Governor Brian Kemp. You can track us on Facebook and Twitter at GPB News. Use hashtag GPB Lawmakers to join the conversation. We look forward to having you with us tomorrow.